everyone. My name is Ava Nicole Francis, and I'm here with Nick Cesare for the lineup interview series. Nick, thanks so much for coming on.
Ava, it is a pleasure to be on with you.
I'm so excited. I'm so glad that we're doing the lineup together this time. This is going to be so much fun.
This is crazy. I can't believe that it has been nearly a year since we did that Christmas show together.
I know. Back in December. Look at us now.
Back in December, different hairstyle back then. Oh my gosh.
Different
Look
life.
at that.
Been a year.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Hell yeah. So, of course, I know you. I've known you for a little bit now, but for those of you who don't know, I'm going to take it all the way back to the very beginning for you. And let's start with the moment that you realized like music was something that you wanted to pursue. Like, do you have a memory of that and anything like that?
So there were two instances. So I'll walk you through the first one very quickly, excuse me. So it was my aunt's Christmas party. I was 5 years old. There was a microphone, and the DJ was playing Jingle Bells. And it's very strange. Long story short, I grew up predominantly with a basketball family. So I was always playing sports. A part of me thought, oh, I'm just going to be a basketball player when I'm older. That changed because everybody started to get taller and I stayed 5'6". But back to the story. So I get the microphone and I kind of look at the DJ at the party and he kind of gives me this look like, what are you doing? And I just like looked at him like with puppy dog eyes. It was 5. And I was like, can I just please have this? And so I just take the mic and it was crazy. It was like I went on autopilot and I started singing Jingle Bells. And I remember that moment. Here we are 22 years later from that. And my parents, I guess, looked at each other and they were like, let's put this kid in theater or something. And from there, the love blossomed. Then I started to get into popular music, Stevie Wonder, the Jackson 5. But the second instance was I was in high school and I was 15. At the time, I thought musical theater and singing pop was just going to be something on the side. It was something fun to do as a kid, right? And my mother thought I was going to be an international lawyer, go off to a school like Georgetown University. I'm doing this college paper on Berklee College of Music.
Okay.
And I go, damn, I think this is what I need to do with my life. And I remember sitting down with my parents and going, hey, I think I'm going to shift gears. I want to become a professional singer. I want to do this with my life. And I'll never forget, my dad was like, all right, that's what he's doing with his life. That's my dad impression. And
Love.
then my mom's like, okay, yeah. But those were the two instances. And here we are now. And I couldn't be more happier with how things have turned out.
Love. That's so cool. We're all glad that you're doing it. You mentioned you come from like a basketball family, so I know that you do a lot of national anthem singing for different basketball teams, I hear. How did you get into that?
So it all started when I was a kid. Long story short, my father is the neuromuscular therapist for the Miami Heat. So ever since I was young, I was around NBA superstardom, players like Dwayne Wade, even LeBron James, which is crazy to say and crazy to put into perspective the older I got. But from there, I remember I was 11 and they had me sing the national anthem. And I was so nervous. And this was another canon event for me. Dwayne Wade comes up from behind and he picks me up. I didn't know it was D Wade. And I turn around and he looks at me. He says, you got this, kid. Because my legs were shaking. When I tell you, I was like quaking, as 11-year-olds in front of 20,000 people do.
Of course.
And from there, it almost became a college homecoming. Every time I would go back home in December, the Heat would have me back. Then once I started to get notoriety in a good way for doing it for the Heat, that translated over to the Boston Celtics while I was going to school at Berklee College of Music. And then when I moved to New York, the Brooklyn Nets. So praying for a Knicks appearance at some point, just to complete the North trifecta. But it's been amazing, and I love doing it. It's a great way to go to a basketball game, meet new people. I get to say what's up to a lot of the players that I'm fortunate to be friends with, and I always have said that there's a correlation between music and sports. It's all entertainment at the end of the day. They train the way we do. And I almost look at myself being a singer as a professional athlete. I condition myself. I'm warming up every day, making sure My technique is on point, just like they're making sure that their shot is always on point, their defense is on point. So I always look to find that correlation. And that was when I was hosting that podcast during quarantine. So that
Yeah.
was a positive during that period of my life as well in 2020, making
Yeah.
that correlation with a lot of the players.
Cool. I love that. What is the prep for like a national anthem singing at a game like that versus your shows that you do? Is there anything different in your process?
So I actually keep the ritual pretty singular throughout. Um, For me, I always start by listening to either Mary J. Blige or Anita Baker before a performance
I love
while
that.
I'm taking a shower, while I'm just like getting ready. I mean, I used to have to like slick my hair back. Now I decided to rock it forward. And so I just like mess my hair up and I'm listening to this music, getting in my suit, feeling like myself. And then I'm warming up my voice. And I always meditate for 10 minutes before I leave and walk out my apartment. Because if you're not walking out centered and grounded, then your energy is going to feed off of a lot of other nervous energy that could be around you. So I'm a big person in terms of wanting to ground my energy. That's something that's very important for me.
Yeah, totally. I love that. I love that there's specific like ritualistic things that some people do. Some people have that, some people don't, but I think whatever works for you, clearly it works.
Thank you.
I just because I'm friends with you, I know that you've seen some pretty famous people at these games outside of just the players. Who has been your favorite person to see, or who's just like the biggest person that most famous person you've seen?
I've definitely seen a bunch of celebrities at games. I'll tell you the funniest interaction, and this is very unexpected. You know who Waka Flocka Flame is, right? Go ahead, drop it to
Yeah.
the floor. Wanna see that booty go? Yeah. So my friends are sitting down in the seats while I'm doing the anthem, and as I'm singing, I notice my friends off to the side, and they're sitting next to Waka Flocka Flame, and I'm like, all right, wow, all right, it's a fun night tonight. So I did my thing. I sang an anthem. I go back to where our seats are, and I'm sitting right next to Flocka, and
Love.
we're watching the game. And then he taps me. He's like, "Yo, did you sing the national anthem?" And I look at him and I'm like, "Yeah, that was me." He was like, "Yo, I was fire," and I was just like, "Thanks, Flocka." Like, like it's not every day that Waka Flocka Flame tells you good
Yeah.
job. And then I looked at him and was like, "Hey, Flocka, I love you, Flocka." And he's like, "I love you too, bro." And I was just like, "That's a moment you're never gonna get back because I'm loved by Waka Flocka Flame."
Hell
No hands, as they say.
I love that. So you've mentioned like Prince, George Michael, Justin Timberlake as like your major influences amongst many others. How did those artists shape your approach to music and performance and who you are now?
Sure. So in terms of my musical prep and how I go about my songwriting process, I always start with a top line first. So I have my poor phone storage. Excuse me, I'm gonna say that again. My poor phone storage. So many gigabytes worth of top line voice memos that just might never get used, but the ones that stick out, they end up finding their way into a certain song. Then from there, I start with the title, and I will listen to if I'm feeling an influence for a specific kind of song or a specific kind of story that I'm looking to tell. I'll listen to the source of that inspiration. If I'm wanting to pay homage in my own way to George Michael, for example, that's one of my favorite artists. I go, all right, how can I take what he was doing, add it to my own arsenal, if you will, because I believe in the power of pushing music forward.
Totally. Of
Um, George Michael has already had his moment.
course.
Ava, you have so many inspirations too, right? So we take inspiration, but we have to figure out how to tell our own story through carrying the torch. That's how I look at it. So I'm consistently asking myself that question in my process. How can I carry on the torch in my own way? What is NICK Cesaré's legacy going to be? And I honestly feel like that is only continuing to start out right now. So, as are you, we got bright futures, and we have to lock into those bright futures. So that's what I remind myself too in my creative process. Not to put pressure on it, but actually to relax it, going, you've done the work, now you're executing.
Yeah, heard. You touched a little bit on that in your last answer, but what is your process for when you're writing your own music? Because each person has a different process. I've asked this before on here to other songwriters, and it's the answer is always different. So when you want to sit down and write a song,
Oh, I understand. My bad, my bad. I thought you meant the general.
well, that
So
was the general. Now I'm segueing over to this one now.
let's go into nitty gritty. So
Yeah.
basically, like I said, I always start out with the top line. Then I have a bank of about, I want to say it's like between 285, like 310 song titles that I have just listed because a song title for me keeps me on track. Then you can really build a story around this one title.
Okay, so you start with a title.
I do. Sometimes that title changes or it's nuanced based off of maybe something catchy in the top line that you came up with.
Yeah.
And I very much look at my songwriting process like I'm a scientist. I'm crafting a verse, crafting a pre-chorus, crafting a chorus. And I try to make everything almost feel like a hook in itself.
Hmm.
And that came from a story that my vocal coach, Rob Stevenson, who is Justin Timberlake's vocal coach, shared with me about Justin's process with Crimea River, which apparently Justin would sit down and he came up with all of these catchy parts of a song. Timbaland would have him go back and write
Wow.
another part of the song.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, you have one of the catchiest songs of all time. So
Yeah.
that's what I do with my process.
Okay, cool. That's always interesting because I hear a lot of you're I think the first person I've heard that starts with the title. I think I've heard I start with lyrics first, I start with music first, I start with this idea first.
Oh yeah. So
That's cool.
an example I'll use, not to plug my own song, but Lavish.
Plug, yeah.
I was in a big 90s R&B slash 24 karat Bruno Mars phase when that initially came to me. So this top line had been sitting there since 2019. I'm just going, anything that's lavish, I just got to have it. And then from there, I was like, that's the song title.
Yeah.
I'm going to call it Lavish. Anything that's lavish, I just got to have it. Something that's relatable.
Yeah.
Because sometimes other people might want the finer things in life. We're always looking to be the soundtrack to people's lives.
Yeah. Love, love. And I love that song. So,
Thank
period.
you.
What to you is either the most memorable lesson or piece of advice that you've been given from a mentor or just someone that you've heard?
Dang, that's a crazy question. There's been so many. For me, I think it was when Phil Collins actually he told me so. I at the time, yeah, I had been mentored by Phil. I was working very closely with his son, and I had the opportunity. I got scholarshiped to go to Berklee College of Music, and I had to make a really tough decision. And I will never forget what Phil said. He said, "Nick, projects come in flux." And he said it in a really cool British accent. He was like, Nick, projects, bands, they come in flux. And for me, that took so much pressure off of wanting things to consistently work. I think the Beatles say it really well too. When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, she's speaking words of wisdom, let it be.
Yeah.
And when we allow ourselves to understand, not everything is forever, there are going to be certain eras of our life. That's what makes it fun to be an artist.
Yeah.
And I look at Phil's career. I mean, he was a drummer first.
Yeah.
Then he transitions into being the frontman for Genesis. Then he goes on this incredible solo career. So
Yeah.
you never quite know where things go in flux in your life and in your career. All we can do is sit back and enjoy the ride, control what we can't control.
Absolutely. I love that. It's good to stick with that for sure. And I think it's very true. Nick, do you have anything in the upcoming weeks, months that you want to promote or talk about at all?
Let's just say, in regards to, I know I got my residency at Mastro's Steakhouse. You can come enjoy a little filet mignon. I'll just be singing The Weekend and Justin Timberlake all night. But
Yeah.
that being said, fresh start's coming. I'll just say that. And I'm
Yeah.
really grateful that we have a chance for a fresh start and to feel rebirthed.
Okay. We'll keep an eye out for you for sure.
No, I'm trying. I'm trying. I'm trying to get like you, Ava Nicole.
Oh,
So
you. Oh, you. Well, Nick, thank you so much for coming on and for spending some time with us and for chatting. We are all so excited. For those of you watching, please come to the lineup on November 18th to see Nick and this other incredible lineup of people that are going to be performing.
including Ava Nicole Francis, she'll be performing too.
I'll be part of it. We're finally on it. And yeah, we're so excited to have you on. This is your first time on the lineup, right?
This is my first time. Grateful to you, grateful to Susie. This is gonna be fun.
Oh, of course. We're so happy to have you on. For those of you watching, please come, and I will see you then. Thanks, Nick, for coming on. Of
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
course. Bye, Nick.